The whispers in your mind are not yours. Let's dive into this. I'm going to show you how your soul speaks to you and what the different types of entities that most people have in their field, and how to discern the quote unquote negative entities from the good entities, the angelic beings from your intuition, your soul speaking to you. Not think about negative entities as being bad. I think most people think of really like they get almost fearful when they think about negative entities. And I really want you to steer clear of that because that also is a gateway. We hired entities on a soul level to show us where our deep core wounds are, right? So when we listen to them, we can actually fine tune where our wounds are. So they're not negative. Another pro that negative entities do for you is that they actually take your power at a time where you're unconscious of what to do with it, and it almost protects you from actually demonic beings. So think of them as protectors until your full power comes online, right? Until you're so fully conscious and aware and you're fully, you know what to do. So they're not bad. So let's just flip that script around them. But we also don't need them in our field anymore. We're at a time and place where we've, done enough work. We've started to wake up and we're conscious and we're aware, and we simply need to release them at this point. The more self-mastery that you do, which we're going to get into, the more we begin to release them from our field, the more that we stop giving them our power, because we can only give them our power. We can only welcome them in. They do not have the ability to come in unless they are welcomed. So that is also another thing. So we're going to flip that around so we don't welcome them in anymore. This is a consistent thing that we have to do. This is not a one-time fix. This is something we have to practice, we have to build, and over time we become stronger. We become more in our field, more aware of what is ours and what is not. And through that, we begin to anchor in our divinity. And then as we anchor in our divinity, our frequency gets so high and aligned that we aren't even on the same dimension of those energies anymore. And every now and then we might have certain energies that try to pop up, and we know what to do. Let's talk about the different types of entities. First of all, we have the entity that feeds off of, because they all feed off of you, that feeds off of your fear, your wounds, your deep trauma. And once again, this is where we listen and we can fine tune where our trauma is. So it might say something, it might be a whisper that comes into your mind, your thoughts. And the thing is that most people believe it's you who's thinking those thoughts. It is not you, it is the entity. And it's saying, you're not good enough. I don't know why I am having such a hard life. Nobody likes you. Those are all just examples of the type of whispers that might come into your head. Now, if you agree with those whispers, if you agree with those thoughts, that is you allowing them in. But if you consciously choose in that moment, I acknowledge that thought. Acknowledgement is huge. If you don't acknowledge, you're suppressing it. And it's just building up. It's lingering. It's like still in your field, still a gateway. You want to acknowledge it. I acknowledge these parts of me that believe that or that has that in my field. And I am going to choose in this moment not to believe that. Where is this belief really coming from? Where is this wound? Where are they trying to highlight for me? What wound is really being poked on? And this is where you're going to have to do your deep diving. Okay, well, maybe I was abandoned as a child, or, this happened to me when I was younger, or this. Okay, I acknowledge this experience. I'm not going into victimhood. I acknowledge this experience. I'm going to bring it to the light. I'm going to see if I can shift my perspective around anything that needs to be shifted here. I'm also going to see what the soul lesson is. I'm also going to feel anything that comes up and process that as well. And now I'm going to choose to believe something else. I'm going to replace this other belief with this positive belief. And I'm going to also, in this moment, see all of all of the parts in my life right now where the positive belief is. So even if it's a thread, even if you feel like, for example, I'm just going to throw this one out there, like no one supports you, like even if you feel like no one truly supports you, I want you to see if you can find a thread. Find that thread. Okay, well, there was this one time where this person did this thing. Highlight it. Focus all of your energy on it. If you don't have anything, just focus on as if you did. Okay, but most people have a thread. So focus on that thread, highlight it. If you have multiple things, great. Focus on multiple things. Really begin to feel it and acknowledge it. Start paying attention, even after this exercise, to all of the things in your life where that positive belief really is. Start highlighting it and taking a step to acknowledge its presence, feeling it in your body and bringing it more. And that brings it more into your field. When you give it gratitude, you're appreciating it, you're noticing it. What are you doing? You're planting seeds, you're birthing these seeds into blooming. And so then you can start to have more of that in your life. That takes time, that takes patience, that takes presence and awareness and all of this stuff. So don't expect this to be something that happens overnight, but rather something that you have to practice on building like a skill. Okay. And I think a lot of people struggle with the first step, which is that acknowledgement, right? Like being aware of those lingering thoughts, that's half of the healing process right there. You're bringing that up into your field because it's the light whispers that we often don't really acknowledge or be aware of. Bring that right up to the field. Sometimes they're very loud and obnoxious. Great, you know exactly where you need to work on. But that is a process, right? So the second type of entity, which is more of what I like to call the trickster. These are the ones that pretend to be your intuition, but they're not. So your intuition speaks to you. If you want a full video on this, I have another one if you look for that. But your intuition speaks to you very softly. Usually the first thing that comes to you, there's no but if and blah, 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 blah. It's very calm. It's at peace, right? It's got this energy to it. Your intuition will speak to you. And the trickster will come in and it'll say, no, you're supposed to go left because blah, 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 blah. Right? The trickster is going to, and then it might give you pretty solid reasons, right? It might go, oh, well, it's actually pretty solid reasons, but it knows if you go down that path, it's actually leading you down a path that is none of your highest path. And once again, let's not look at these tricksters as bad, but rather as entities that are there to, I guess, support your discipline of following that internal guidance, right? Like, how strong are you with following that inner knowing that's in your soul? When your soul speaks to you, there's no but what if, there's no second guessing. There's no fear, there's no anxiety. And that's what this trickster is going to kind of do. It's going to point to you all the things that it thinks you need to do in order to get to your highest divine timeline. So you might hear things come into your mind's eye like, you need to go left, right? Need is like, as soon as it says the word need, you already know need is a third dimensional energy because it's coming from scarcity, lack, and it is not an abundant energy. You don't need to do anything. You desire to do anything. You can desire to do certain things. That is healthy. That is fifth dimensional. Needing, coming from lack, scarcity. So it might tell you, you need to tell them how to treat you, that you need to tell your friends that they should be supporting you. Absolutely not. I disagree with that. A lot of spiritual people will say you need to have a conversation with them. You need to show them what your boundaries are, that they hurt you. And that's coming from a place of, once again, lack. It's coming from a force. right? When we work on ourselves, our world will change. And so it's rather about trying not stop trying to fix the world, but rather shifting what's coming up in our field. And the more that we can do that, the more we raise our frequency, the more we start to align the right people to us who will support, who will be that type of person that we are seeking. But the more that we try to tell people or control the situation, we're just feeding into that energy. Where energy goes, energy grows. Where you feed your focus, like that's where you're bringing more of that energy in. So see if you can shift things first. Now, you can have a conversation eventually if you want to, but out of a state of love, of completely after you've done the work, once you've worked on yourself and cleared, I would suggest to anyone to never try to fix something when you're in a state of those lower emotions, when you're in a state of um, feeling incomplete or feeling scarcity or feeling lack. Never do anything from that state. You always want to focus on how you feel coming to that first, that state of peace and you're abundant. And then, going into usually the solution will come. Then it's okay to take action, aligned action. So that is the trickster. Then we have the sexual predators. Sexual predators feed off of often people who've had sexual trauma, but not necessarily either. You can have entities that'll latch on through sexual intercourse. You can also have entities attached through your thought patterns around your belief systems around sex, right? I recently had to um, block or stay away from someone. I had to cut someone out of my field for multiple reasons, but really beautiful soul. But she had sex with almost every single guy and consistently. Like she'll have sex with so many people at once, and she doesn't believe that she has a problem. That's what she kind of likes to do. But for me, it was bringing up this belief in me. Like it was almost like I was judging for her being very energetically dirty, which in with the field that I work in, I already know she's taking on entities. They're releasing their traumatic imprints on her. And with that many partners in a row, like 5, 10 partners in 5, 10 days, that's a lot of people. And so I had to distance and remove myself. And because I was starting to have these beliefs, and if I have those beliefs, I'm allowing for those energies to come in as well. I'm building a cord between me and her, and that's not what I want. Right? So you have to be very disciplined with also who you let into your life. And especially if you've had trauma in that area, because you're more susceptible to taking on those type of energies. You have sexual intercourse with someone, you can take on their entities, even through kiss, um, touch as well. Not all people can take on entities through touch, but I will say more of the celestial beings, the lighter energies, the lighter frequencies. Those type of people are very susceptible to taking on energies and entities from people. Um, yeah, and touch is huge, right? So you just really want to be mindful of all of that. They're feeding off of your sexual desires, your fantasies. And if you have unhealed sexual desires and fantasies, like they're coming from a state of addiction rather from a state of desire, that's how they feed on of you. So all addictions are wounds, right? They're unprocessed wounds. I did a entire video on this if you want to watch that, but you want to make sure that, you know, it's coming from a deep place of desire and not an unconscious wound that's just really repeating and playing itself out. And how you can tell is usually by the energy that's behind it, right? Are you feeling like you need to? Are you feeling like you are a people pleaser? Are you feeling like you can't say no? Are you feeling like pressured? Are you feeling like you just really want to have a lot of sex with a lot of people and there's no true deep desire to getting to know this person and spend with this person? Like all of those stuffs are signals and letting you know where your traumas are and if they've been healed. because there's ways to always work on these types of things. Like if that's something you're going through, understand that doesn't make you dirty. It just shows you where you need to work on that you can clear those energies. I actually have an entire course around clearing sexual imprints, right? Because every time a man orgasms on you, or a woman orgasms on you, you actually take on their negative imprints, their negative karma, their entities, depending on who's the lighter being. So if you're the lighter being, you're the one that's taking on all that stuff. If they're the lighter being, then they're going to take on all of that stuff. And you might just keep passing it around between multiple partners, whatever it is. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting zone. So you want to make sure what are the energies that are coming up, or what are my true authentic desires, and am I acting because out of lust, or am I acting out of desire? Then we have the entities that like to feed off of your ego. So they like to boost your ego because, especially right now, we're living in a fifth dimensional world. So when we're putting ourselves on pedestals, the universe has to knock us down. This used to not be the case, over a few years ago. We could kind of, be up on that pedestal for quite a bit of time, and then eventually we might be knocked down. But now, as soon as we get on that pedestal, we're knocked right down. So this is a time and place where an entity can feed off of you, especially when you hit those lows. They love that, or boosting your ego, or you're doing something because you are the savior, you're the hero, I'm the healer, right? That is that very ego-based energy. You want to make sure that anything that you're doing, that you're very humble about it, or you will be humbled. So if you're someone who constantly goes into these crashes almost, it feels kind of like you're doing all of this work and then all of a sudden just everything kind of goes to shits. All of these things go wrong all of a sudden. It's usually because you put yourself on a pedestal while you were doing something and then you got knocked down. And all of those things kind of have to come all at once because it's like that gap of energy that just kind of moves. And then that's where entities feed on you. So see, ask yourself wherever you are in your life, like, am I doing this out of ego? Am I trying to get something out of this? Am I doing this because of my heart, because I love, because I truly desire to, because it feels aligned? Or am I doing this because I want to get this out of it? I want to get fame. I want to get this person to like me. I want to get money. Like, what are you trying to get? How am I placing myself? Am I placing myself to be better than other people? Do I see everybody else as less than me because I know more? Like, perfect example. I see a lot of spiritual teachers teaching this, and it honestly gives me so much red flags. A lot of spiritual teachers teach that you're just supposed to open yourself up, and whatever information comes through is coming through from the divine, right? And here's the thing. It is coming through, it is information, but it's not necessarily coming from the divine. And the only information you should ever receive should ever come from God or your highest divine self, your divinity or God, not any angels. I know that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but think of it this way. If you're giving your power away to something else to tell you what you should do, that actually makes you weaker. If you're giving your power away to a guru because the guru is going to heal you, instead of you healing yourself, that actually makes weaker. Whereas a true spiritual way shower will actually show you how to heal yourself and give you the tools necessary so you can actually build yourself up from the ground up and become your own spiritual divine being. You can step into your divinity. So be really mindful of who you're giving your power away to. You don't want to give your power away to something else to do something for you ever unless you're anchoring God, unless you're anchoring your divinity, unless you're giving your power to God or your divinity. So, whenever you're looking for a spiritual teacher to activate or to teach you or to heal you, make sure that this person isn't claiming to be a spiritual healer, but rather someone that shows you the tools on and gives you the tools and the activations and all of that stuff to do it yourself. That is the proper way to do it because you are powerful. And if you always give your power away to outside sources, you will never become and step into your divinity. Your divinity is you. You just got to anchor your divinity in. It's all about clearing the blocks that are inhibiting you from that natural process. And when somebody comes in and they claim to do something and they're doing it for you, they're taking away that natural process for you to do it yourself. And that is only going to make you weak. It's only going to make you smaller. It's only going to keep you blocked and stuck. And that's not what we want. I want to see you step into your divinity, right? I want to see you step into your highest divine self. And that is only done by you. But you can have guides and you can have divine spiritual teachers who are embodied in what they preach. And when they're embodied in what they preach and they're showing you and they're sharing with you and they're guiding you, that actually unlocks something in you on a deep cellular level, so it helps to fill that gap that you just can't seem to get. That's what an embodied spiritual teacher does. So you want to make sure that the person who's also showing you the way is embodied in what they preach. They're not just speaking from a state of knowledge.